Do you ever worry that your business isn't standing out enough from your competitors? Being completely original and offering something that nobody else does is very, very rare. Even if you started out offering something that hardly anyone else was doing, or maybe no one else was offering, like we did at Content 10X with our content repurposing service, there will come a point where people start to offer what you offer. This is completely unavoidable unless you have a watertight patented product or similar and you can legally stop it. And unfortunately, a lot of the time we live in a copycat world, and it can be deeply frustrating if you see your entire business model or product or service being copied. But that doesn't mean that your business can't still make its own impact in the world. So really do not fear if this happens. And I know as I talk about this, you've probably got your competitors in mind. So I want to do a little exercise with you. First, I want you to think about what it is about your business and their business that's the same. So maybe you'll say your product or your service, and this is normally where two businesses are most similar. With a few exceptions here and there, a potential client would be comparing you against your competitor and they'd be ticking a lot of the same boxes. And also note down what makes your businesses different. So what features of your service or product are unique and very rarely found elsewhere. And now I want you to think about what's different between your two brands. So notice I changed my wording there. I said brands this time. Now your brand is your individual, iconic way of communicating what you do. Your brand is intangible. It's how people perceive your business and your offerings. It's how you make them feel. It encompasses your values, your beliefs, and it's your competitive advantage. And we're not just talking about your brand identity here. So how your brand looks, logos, fonts, colours. We're talking about your brand image. So this time you probably have thought of lots of ways that you're different to your competitors. For example, your values and your mission, your vision, what you believe in, and how you offer your products and services in such a way that it encompasses your values. So by now you'll have a list of what's different between you and your competitors' business offerings, and you'll have a list of what's different between you and your competitors' brands. Now hit pause if you need to, because it's really, really worthwhile to go through this comparison exercise. And now I have one last question for you to think about. Now, how are you communicating the difference between your brand versus your competitor's brand to your audience? So what is that secret sauce of your brand that people will turn to you instead of your competitors? Because the most influential player in setting your brand apart from others is your content. Because yes, your brand identity is important, but your brand image is largely communicated through your content. It's how you position your business in your industry and in the world at large. So content communicates your brand and it brings it to life. And I'm talking about your values and your passion, who you are and what you help people with. The best part about creating content for your brand is that it's completely unique to you. It takes a lot of time and effort to create fantastic content. And don't get me wrong, because people may try and copy your brand too, but that's a difficult path to go down that usually doesn't work out well for the copycats. Now let's just take a look at an example. So think about Coca-Cola and Pepsi. These are two brands that are a perfect example of offering what is essentially the same product, but people buy into one over the other. The brands are well aware of this and have done many, many tongue-in-cheek campaigns over the years, referencing their similarities and the subsequent rivalry. Or look at Burger King and McDonald's, two brands which essentially offer the same product, but people often have a huge loyalty to one and not the other. Now I know you could argue that they're not the same thing and they don't taste exactly the same. Now personally I prefer the fries at McDonald's and I prefer a Big Mac to a Whopper, but you get the gist. The brand is a big player in all of this. While these brands have been around for a long time, I think we can all agree that their secret sauce is how they've positioned themselves over the years, and a lot of that is through their content. For huge B2C brands like these, content looks different. These businesses have huge budgets to spend on big worldwide advertising campaigns, but there's still lessons that we can learn about how to differentiate our businesses from our competitors. Their content is that special sauce that generates mystery and excitement and makes people want more. Now, I know in the McDonald's case, it's not just figurative. They literally have a special sauce for their Big Macs, and this was kept a secret for years, which was essentially a very, very clever marketing tactic. So how can your brand create its own special sauce? Now, here's the recipe. Firstly, you have to define what you create content about, and crucially, how it aligns with your business, your goals, and your brand, because it's no good creating content that doesn't match your brand values. All content should help you get closer to the vision for your brand. So do the work and truly understand what your brand image is. Take the time to just really work on this, and don't do it alone. Involve your team too, because this is working out your secret sauce. And when you agree on your mission and your purpose and passion and values, you need to dig deep into what topics you want to talk about and know what your motivations are for sharing them, and really be passionate about it. Even if you've been in business for a while, you should still do this. It's important to revisit these things. And when all of this comes together, that's when your secret sauce starts to become irresistible or not. Now, it's okay to repel the people who don't align with your brand too, so that is also a really good thing. The next step is to decide how you're going to deliver your content, and there are several arms to this. You need to think about the format that you want to deliver the content in. For example, a podcast, video, blog, live stream, newsletter, or something else. And you need to also consider the platforms you're going to repurpose your content to and share it. So you know me, I'm all about repurposing and maximizing your content. That's really, really important. And this is a good opportunity to take a peek at what your competitors are doing. If they're all creating content for YouTube, for example, perhaps there's untapped potential in the podcasting arena. Or if they're big on Facebook, maybe try Instagram. Now, you don't have to zig when they zag. You can all zig and zag together, but it's just something to consider and keep an eye on. Most important of all, though, is that you create great quality content and publish the content where your audience are. So if the podcast space is already quite busy, but you're not comfortable on camera and you don't like to write and talking really is your thing, then don't worry too much. A brilliant podcast in a crowded space is better than a bad video or low quality blog post with less competition. So let your personal preference guide you, and then make an informed choice with your competitor research. And if you're just getting started, then definitely go all in on the platforms you've chosen. But as I mentioned already, don't forget that you'll get a much wider reach if you repurpose. So you need to factor repurposing in when you're planning your content. Don't make it an afterthought. And you must ensure all your repurposed content is fit for each platform and aligned to your brand identity and image. And one last thing to consider, if your competitors are doing well on a platform that you're not focusing on, it shows there's an audience there who may be interested in your products or services too. Because there's always a chance that people like the product or service, but they don't have a huge affinity or love for the business they're buying from. Perhaps they're just not aware of other brands who can offer it to them that they could be more aligned with. And your content is there to give people a taste of who you are. And if they like it, they just might switch. So if you're worried that your business has many competitors and it's hard to stand out, get to work on understanding what makes your brand, not your service or product features, but your brand unique, and ensure that's incorporated loud and clear in your content strategy. Now, go find your secret sauce and give people a taste of what they're missing.